Alright, welcome to the first round of the Pitskill GT Open Championship. If you missed the previous video in this kind of style, where I explained the plans for this series of videos, I'll give you a very quick rundown. Essentially, I wanted to do a kind of live broadcast commentary of these races, but I don't actually want to do it live for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm in the race, so I can't really do a proper commentary, broadcast and drive. And secondly, inevitably, when you're doing live streams of races, you miss quite a few things. So I'm going to use the replay file instead, and we'll go through, find all the interesting bits and hopefully not miss anything. And I can kind of commentate on it as if it was live, but without the time restrictions that a live broadcast enforces. So every Friday, we'll be following along with this championship. This will be as well as the normal videos on Mondays. And to get you familiar with some of the people in the race, let's take a quick look through the top 10 qualifiers in this grid. Right at the front of the grid in P1, we've got Baby Perchime. We call him Baby Perchime because his dad also does some sim racing with Pitskill. So we've got Daddy Perchime and Baby Perchime. I've no idea if he knows that we call him that. Probably not, but there you go. Now he does. And alongside him on the front row of the grid, qualifying in P2, we've got Fredriksson. If you saw the kind of pilot episode for this series where we watched the last race from the last season, you'll have seen him battling very hard with Roland Schricker. Some great side-by-side racing between the pair of them. And speaking of Roland Schricker, here he is just behind them in P3. And again, in that last race of last season, I did give him driver of the day. So I'm expecting big things from him today, you know? In P4, we've got my Hungarian friend Balázs Fahir. He's normally in the Lexus, but this season he's switched to the Mustang, so this will be his first proper race in that thing. And alongside him, we've got Tiago Matos, or Matos. I just call him Tomatoes because, I mean, his name looks like tomatoes. Like, I still don't think that's a real name, but who knows? And then qualifying in 6th position, we have got Lats in the Aston Martin. And I don't have a nickname or any trivia for him, I'm afraid, so moving on. You might recognize this livery because it's the same livery as the guy in P1, but this is not P1, this is P7, which, I mean, kind of looks like a 1 if you squint a bit. And I'm really running out of things to say on this grid walk. And then in P8, we've got Burr in this plain white Ferrari. Oh, there's a few little gold touches to it. It's not quite that plain, but yeah, not the most exciting livery. But in P9, we have Rainer Schull with a much more exciting livery. He's attracted a lot more sponsors, even the entire county of Aberdeen. Always good to see. And then rounding out the top 10, we've got Nilsson in another sponsorless livery, unless the sponsor was like Highlight Marker pens or something, because this shit's looking brighter than my future. And speaking of me, if you're wondering where I qualified, I am all the way down in P15. Now, to be fair, there were 2 splits. This is split 1. So if you include split 2, then, you know, I qualified ahead of like 25 people. That's how I'm looking at it, okay? Glass half full. But anyway, with all that said, let's jump to the start of the race. So we are just ending the formation lap, and then the lights will go green. They do indeed, and we are heading down to the chicane that is T1 and T2. Quite a sketchy couple of corners to fit all of these cars through without incidents. See Roland Schricker's Lamborghini tucked right in behind the Mustang of Perchime, and then we've also got the yellow Lambo of Fredriksson taking the normal wide line into T1, which might let Roland Schricker up the inside, and I think it's going to. Yeah, Roland Schricker straight up from P3 to P2 in the first couple of corners, so that's a good start to his race. Not such a good start for Fredriksson, as everybody makes it round the long right-hander, the seemingly never-ending right-hander of turn 3 and up towards turn 4 under the bridge. Quite a common spot for incidents, and we do indeed see an incident on turn 1 caused by some idiot in a blue Ferrari. Definitely not me. Crashing into the side of the Lexus of Maya van Dijk. Let's take another look at that. As much as I don't want to, I've got to be fair. You know, I'm going to show other people's crashes in this video, so got to show my own as well. And as we can see, just a classic case of not being prepared for the lap 1 traffic and people slowing down a bit more than usual, but you have to be prepared for that. So that is fully on me, and I do indeed get a penalty for that after the race. And now that we've been through a few corners, we can also bring up the timing tower as that starts to work properly. Hopefully give you guys a better idea of what's going on. And right now what is going on is De Woz, probably pronouncing that terribly, and Heusinkveld going side by side. Both in Ferraris, but we've got De Woz on the inside and Heusinkveld on the outside. Heusinkveld getting a little squirrely on the exit, possibly getting a track cut there because the track limits are very harsh there. But now they're staying double file and going to go around this long right-hander up the hill, which does not work out well for De Woz as we see him take a little trip through the sand pit. And I think he loses quite a few positions there. We'll take another look at that and see exactly what happened. So De Woz was on the outside going through here, and I guess he's going to just run wide. Oh, he actually gets pushed wide there. I think Heusinkveld gave him a little tap there, pushed him wide. Yeah, that cost De Woz 3 or 4 positions there. But now, as we come onto the main straight for the next lap, it looks like Heusinkveld, who was involved in that incident a moment ago, is going to try and repent for his sins here and let some people back past. Although, he's only let Schull back past, not the person that he hit, and he's also nearly rear-ended Schull. I'm not quite sure what that was about. I guess he was just trying to balance the karma scales, but it didn't really work out. And if we look again at that same moment, we saw Spinner in the background getting, well, spun. I'm sure he's very sick of those jokes, so we'll leave that out. But yeah, he got screwed by DeWaz there. So that was the guy that initially got hit by Heusinkveld. He now takes his frustrations out on somebody else. All of that fighting and crashing, though, has brought me back into this. You can see me at the back of this train, but you can also see a Honda facing the wrong way. What happened there? It was the Honda of Del Rio, and maybe DeWaz is going to claim another victim in his cycle of violence, but no, it is just the Honda doing Honda things. This is why most people don't drive the Honda, because he can just kill you at any moment without warning. A little further up the field, we've got Balazs coming into that same corner, but going very deep, making a big mistake there, which is going to allow Tomatoes through. And I don't think there's going to be anything he can do to fight back against that. He's already made the mistake on the brakes. So yeah, Tomato's going to be straight through, and now Latz also catching up behind. Balazs has a big slide, which is going to let Latz straight past as well, I would imagine, if he can hold it around the outside. Not easy to do on that corner, but when somebody makes such a big mistake, not too bad. And now he's also got Burr as well, looking to make an overtake here, but again, I don't think around the outside that's going to happen. So yeah, unfortunate for Balazs, losing several places there just from one small mistake, a bit of a cascade of errors. And yeah, he goes from 4th to 6th in just a few seconds. And now back to this exact same corner again. This seems to be where all of the action is happening. We have Fuser going for an overambitious dive on Lorenzon there. Luckily only murders himself. Just cost Lorenzon a bit of time, lets me catch up, but doesn't take him out fully, so that's good. And I mean, look, I can't really criticize after murdering somebody on the first lap. These things happen sometimes, you know. You don't want it to, but sometimes they happen. You go to brake, you think you braked in the normal spot, and before you know it, your feet are in somebody else's footwell. And there's not a lot you can do at that point, other than apologize and just take the penalty. And all of these incidents have brought me a little closer to Lorenzon, as he takes a very tight line into the chicane there, which is going to cost him on the exit, and then allow me to just nip up the inside and go through. Not really a lot he could do there. It was already kind of compromised right from the entry of the chicane. So that is one place gained back for me. And speaking of gaining, we see Fredriksson in P3 here has gained a lot of time back to Roland in P2. Last time I looked at them, they were about a second apart, but now only 0.3 behind. We've still got Baby Perchime up in the lead with a comfortable-ish gap. 1 second between him and Roland. I'm going to enter the chicane here, and Roland is going to just absolutely munch the chicane. I think forgetting that he's in a Lamborghini, thinking that he was in a off-road vehicle of some kind, but that will definitely have slowed him down, and that will give Fredriksson a bit of a run down this straight. Although Fredriksson didn't take the chicane particularly well either, but he is going to get past Roland, it looks like here, and a little quicker than I expected too. Maybe Roland just let him past? Let's take another look at that. They come out of the final corner, both pretty similar speed, but Fredriksson's going to have a bit of slipstream. And he starts to slowly gain, pulls out the slipstream, but then it seems like he just suddenly zooms past. Yeah, I would say Roland must have lifted there, because there's no way he would go that fast past him there. So, interesting choice from Roland. Maybe they had a little shunt or something earlier on, but I didn't see anything. You can also see Lorenzon still right on my ass, as I am also chasing down Florent D'Amour. He is in P14. Is he going to be able to mount an attack here down the straight, though? He's got a bit of slipstream, and the Aston is a little faster than the Ferrari down the straights. He's going to pop out of the slipstream, try and make a dive into T1. But thinks better of it in the end, doesn't go for anything too crazy. And I managed to stay ahead there. Out of nowhere, Tomatoes is now in P2. What has happened here? So we go back a little bit, and Perchime is in P1. Fredriksson right behind him, coming towards the chicane. I guess something bad is going to happen here. Yep, something bad does indeed happen. So easily done at that corner. Like the amount of times I've just randomly outbraked myself going into that corner, or braked too early going into that corner. Like it's, for some reason, it just seems so hard to get the braking exactly right. And when you're right behind someone, if you get it wrong, then that's going to happen. So yeah, very unfortunate. That does mean that Roland Schricker has now inherited P1, and yeah, Tomatoes inherits P2. See, from on board with Tomatoes, he comes through here, and it's just like Christmas came early. He just gets given 2 positions, nice and easy, although not quite so easy because there's contact there. That was an interesting rejoin from Baby Perchime. Now, coming down the main straight, Balazs has got a good run on Latz here. The Mustang, we know, very fast on the straights, so you would think should be able to blaze past, but gets alongside into T1, and should be able to easily... no, not so easily. Not so easily. Man, this was a bad race to broadcast as the first one. Like, the standards of driving from all of us have not been great, let's be real. At least I showed you guys the Watkins Glen race, you know, the last race from last season. That was a much better race. There was barely any contact and some great side-by-side racing. This one, you know, everyone's a little bit rusty. We've all had a couple of weeks off of not much racing. People are in new cars. You know, Blage never normally drives the Mustang. There's my excuse for why this race is pretty sketchy. But yeah, hopefully the driving standards from everyone, including myself, improve as the season progresses. Now, Baby Perchheim on a mission to get back towards P1 after being taken out there. He's going to try and get past Tomatoes. Tomatoes going defensive towards the hairpin. It is very hard to overtake around the outside there. Does give you a little cutback, but there's just not enough of a straight here to do anything with it. Often ends up in people crashing side by side through there, but luckily no such issue today with these two. But yeah, you can see Perchheim definitely looking like the faster of the two. Kind of all over the McLaren here of Tomatoes. But no way through as of yet. Let's see if they can both survive the chicane without clobbering each other or the curbs, which is a much harder task than it sounds like. But yeah, the Mustang now, I'm going to assume down the straight, will just do what the Mustang does and destroy people, which it looks like it's going to. They're going to go side by side into T1, and Fredriksson in the background, feeling bad I'm sure, but ready to pick up the pieces if this goes south. But it looks like Perchheim straight through before they even get to the corner. So yeah, that is the good thing about having a fast straight line speed car. You can just overtake before the corners, before all the danger, and then there's not a lot the other car can do. But yeah, Baby Perchheim up into P2. Which is not too bad considering he just got span out not long ago. Now, as we're getting close to the halfway point, some people have started to come into the pits, but D was here, again, sorry for pronouncing it terribly, he's going to get a drive-through as he leaves the pits, and I'm not sure why. He doesn't have it at the moment. Now, because we're using the replay, the drive-through symbol doesn't pop up at the exact moment that you get the drive-through. It's usually a few seconds afterwards, but I can't see what he could possibly have got that for. I guess just speeding in the pits a tiny amount. Yeah, if you watch the gear indicator in the middle there, he's going to go up to second gear briefly, which means that the pit limiter comes off and he just speeds a tiny bit. Very unfortunate for him. We've got Tomatoes chasing P2 and Fredriksson also getting very close here. This battle for P2 hotting up as we've got both of them coming into the pits. And that is not good. I swear most of the races are not like this. Yeah, a bit of an assault on the rear end of Baby Perchheim. So he's going to be feeling pretty hard done to here. He's been spun out once through no fault of his own. He's just been smashed in the rear. Luckily, I don't think it made him speed. That's the worst thing when you get hit on the way into the pits and it pushes you over the line past the speed limit. And then as well as getting damage, you also get a penalty for speeding in the pits. But now because of that damage, presumably, Tomatoes actually jumps Baby Perchheim in the pits. So that's going to feel extra rough now because he lost a place there. He was ahead before the pits. I'm assuming he didn't have time to untick the damage or just forgot to untick it. So yeah, that cost him quite a bit. He's now several seconds behind Tomatoes after being ahead before the pit stop. Another person that lost out in the pit stops is Latz. He was ahead of Blage after they had a little coming together earlier. He was ahead of Blage and Burr. I had a quick look at his pit entry and couldn't see anything obvious, but yeah, he's lost 2 positions during the pit stops, so he's going to have a lot of work to do to catch back up. It seems Fredriksson did very well out the pit stops because he was behind Perchheim and Tomatoes as they both went in, but now he's ahead. But yeah, the pit stops have really shaken things up quite a lot here. Obviously, we've still got a few people who haven't pitted as well. That's why the order is a little messed up at the moment, but in a few laps that should all sort itself out. Now we've got Maya Van Dijk, aka Milky, chasing down Del Rio in the Lexus, the only Lexus on the grid, I believe. But this thing, even compared to the Mustang, this thing is rapid on the straights. I mean, you can see just how much they gain down the straights. It is crazy. But will they actually be able to convert that into an overtake? Because unlike the Mustang, the Lexus is not particularly good on the brakes. Looks like going to make it through though. Very nearly contact. There might have even been a slight door rub there, a little tickle. But yeah, that is a position gained for Milky. And if we go back and watch that from on board with Spinner, he had a great view of this, and he's going to gain a lot due to these two battling side by side through this corner. He was miles behind as they entered the straight, and now he's right with them. So perhaps he can also get past Del Rio in the next couple of corners. Or perhaps the Honda will just do Honda things and kill itself. Instead of killing itself, it's killed Milky. That's the second time Milky has been killed in that corner in this race. I was the murderer the first time, but now Del Rio has taken up that mantle. And a little further up the field, Lats has gained a lot of time on Balazs and Nilsson and is now alongside Nilsson. Probably not going to be able to make it happen around the outside, but might get a nice cut back here. And the Aston is fairly quick on the straight too. Not much of a straight here to do anything with it though. Yeah, not going to be able to make an attack here. Does also go a little wide. Probably a track cut because yeah, the track limits are not very forgiving there, but that's also going to let Burr come alongside. Go around the outside here, keep it on the track. They do indeed. So yeah, Lat's going to actually go from trying to gain a position to losing a position. This is often the way. I thought Burr was going to swing across there, but we also see a Mustang. I think it's Sardonovic. It is Sardonovic. They have a little tussle there, a little door rub. This does not usually go well yet. That is what I was talking about earlier. That corner, very easy to end up just touching each other. But, oh, this, yeah. I was just going to say, this is not going to go well. Let's take another look at that. So it starts all the way back here with Lats up ahead and the Aston just going a tiny bit wide, which didn't look like it would slow them down that much, but it allows Burr to get alongside. Now Sardonovic is kind of licking his chops at this point, seeing them go side by side there, thinking this is costing them a lot of time. Again, the Mustang straight line speed means it's possible for him to actually go for this. I wouldn't have thought he would make up that much ground, but he does. I would say makes it through pretty cleanly there, leaves enough space. But this part here is the bit that's so tricky to go side by side because the curb launches you a bit. And yeah, it almost always results in a bit of door banging there. But this, I think, was a little... I don't know if he was really trying to go for a move there. I think maybe just didn't expect Lats to brake quite so early or something. I don't know. Didn't look like he was really trying to overtake there, but yeah, it's just not really an overtaking corner, that one, unless you're fully like alongside beforehand. So I'd be surprised if he was trying to do that intentionally, but the unfortunate end result for Lats is that he loses quite a few positions there and drops down to P9. Quick check-in with the leader, which is still Roland Schricker. He is still miles ahead of Fredriksson in P2, 6 seconds back. And then quite a big gap to Tomatoes as well. P3, he's 2 seconds behind Fredriksson. And then 1 second to Perchheim in P4. So yeah, this is fairly spread out at the front here. Still another 10 laps or so to go, so anything could happen, but it's not looking super exciting at the front, so we'll go rummage further back through the field to find some battles. And we do immediately find a battle between Nilsson and Burr. Burr having a great time just catching people up who make a mistake in that corner. Thought he was going to go a little wide there. I mean, he does brush the gravel slightly, but yeah, not going to be close enough to do anything into the hairpin unless they do something ridiculous. But yeah, we'll see if they can stop squabbling amongst each other for long enough to catch up with Balazs in P5. So a couple of laps later, they have not stopped squabbling. They are still very much together, and the Ferrari going to go for a move into T1. Leaves enough room. That's nice and respectful. Is the same respect going to be shown on the exit? Just about. They make it through, and Nilsson actually keeps the position. I'm surprised. I thought he was going to lose that. I think we have also got Sardonovic right behind them as well in the Mustang. Yep, there he is. And also bringing Lats with him as well. So this is quite the train now. Battling for P6. Yeah, quite a few of them involved in this. I thought Lats was going to be a lot further back after his little incidents, but... Oh, don't do it. Don't do it, Burr. This corner just never ends well when people go for dives there. But yeah, they're all still living at the moment. All still very close. I'll be surprised if they all survive to the end of the race, I'll be honest, judging by how this race has gone so far. Now, the Ferrari not going to be close enough to do anything up ahead, but having to go defensive from the Mustang of Sardonovic. Like I keep saying, those things are so fast down the straights that, yeah, you have to be wary of them being anywhere near you at any point, really. We've still got Lats just behind them, but dropping back a little bit. He's 0.6. You see the Ferrari up ahead having a little wobble there. That might be enough to get the Mustang through here. I'm surprised at that. Are they going to make contact? They're not. They're side by side, two abreast. And I think Sardonovic is going to get that move done. That was nice. That kind of came out of nowhere. Just a small wiggle from the Ferrari in one corner, and then led to 2 corners later, losing the position. And this little train's still all together, and things are getting a little spicy now as Sardonovic tried to go for a move. Didn't really work out, and it's bunched everyone up even more. Now, hopefully, Lats is not going to do the same thing that happened earlier. He's not. They do survive the trip through that corner. I don't know what that corner's called, but I just know it as the death corner if you ever go side by side through there. So yeah, Burr in P8 still very much in this. I thought he was going to kind of get left behind by the others, but he's still right there. And they're all within less than half a second to each other. We'll see if Burr has to defend from Latz. I think he's going to have to. Yeah, Latz really closing up now. Like I said, the Aston is decent on the straights as well. But will he be able to make this work around the outside into T1? You can definitely do this, and I think he's going to get it done. Yeah, very nicely done there by Latz. Although, Burr nearly kind of comes back at him there. The Ferrari is definitely a little better in the corners. And now we've got a very familiar situation. A Mustang hunting someone down on the straight. This is Sardonovic chasing Nielsen. These guys have been together for several laps now. It looks like Sardonovic is going to be able to brake pretty late there. See if we can do the same thing that Latz did. I think he's going to be able to. Oh, they nearly made contact there. Doesn't work out for Sardonovic like it did with Latz. But he's still right there. Could still happen. He's got a nice line here, although going to have to try and go around the outside of this corner, which doesn't usually work. Oh, very close to contact there. That might have been contact. It looked like it was a few millimeters off, if not. But this is going to turn into the inside line for the next corner, and I think he might have it done there. It took a while. It took several corners. I mean, that all started down the main straight. But now he finally converts it to an overtake, and it looks like maybe Nilsson going to get overtaken by Latz as well. Not quite close enough. Oh, Latz has a bit of a wiggle there. So we see Latz getting very sideways. This corner, again, just seems to be the place where this guy, Bird, just makes up all of his positions. Just waits for people to make a mistake there, and then he just sneaks through. Yeah, another position gained for him. Now Latz got it all to do again. He's dropped down to P9. But now Burr gets a drive through after all that. I think that was for the last corner exit. Let's take a look at this and see if he... Yeah, he just goes over the curve, like by a tiny, tiny amount, but that's enough to give him the drive through. So that is going to be the end of his fight for the top 10. But now approaching this same corner where we've seen a lot of action this race, we've got Florent D'Amour. He's going to have a bit of an oversteer moment. Yep, a big snap there, side to side, and then that's going to allow me to slip past. So thanks for that, Florent. Not that it matters, because I do get a big penalty after the race, like I mentioned earlier, for causing the crash on the first lap. So I didn't end up keeping this position, but it is nice to get past somebody on track, you know? So we're just starting the final lap now, and everyone's fairly spread out. This is the closest battle on track at the moment. The leaders are all miles apart, 5 or 6 seconds apart. And then Perchheim in P4, 1 or 2 seconds behind them. Yeah, unless anyone makes any big mistakes on the last lap, which can happen, it looks like this is going to be the order that people are going to finish in. And yeah, it is indeed. We have Roland coming across the line in P1, followed by Fredriksson in P2. Tomato's gonna come home in P3. Pretty good result for him. I think, like I say, he was 5th or 6th or something in qualifying. Baby Perchheim in P4, which has got to be pretty rough for him, having qualified P1 and then being in the lead of the race for most of the time before getting taken out a couple of times by other people. And Balazs gonna mount the chicane curb one last time in his big old boat, and then gonna bring it home in P5. Followed by Sardonovic. Pretty good result for him, I would say, in P6, spending most of his time around the sort of P9, P10 area. Then we've got Nielsen hanging on to P7, followed by Latz in the Aston Martin, and then Schull in the Ferrari in P9, and Skapash in the Bentley. Kind of forgot all about him. We didn't really see him much in the race. Yeah, he's going to round out the top 10. So yeah, quite an eventful race in terms of crashes and incidents. We didn't see too many clean overtakes, really, did we? There were a few, but they were almost all caused by somebody else up ahead just making quite a big mistake in one of a couple of key corners, and then people just slipping past. But that is quite common for this track, I think, because it's so slippery, especially once your tyres start going off after about 20 minutes. So yeah, I think some of the future races will probably provide some better racing, but overall, it was a fun race to take part in, and hopefully you guys enjoyed watching it. I'll flash up the points that everybody got for this race, and we'll keep track of that throughout the season. Obviously not too interesting at the moment because we've only had one race, but yeah, we do also need to do driver of the day. I think for today, I'm going to go with Burr. Even though he did get a drive-through at the end, very unfortunate. He didn't finish particularly high by the end of the race. I think we're going to go with Burr because he was amongst this group of 4 people that were battling the entire time, and he did very well to avoid people. He made some good passes when people made small mistakes. I don't think we saw him hit anyone. Latz and Sardonovic did both make contact quite a few times. I don't think we saw Burr have any actual incidents. I might be wrong. Maybe I've got the memory of a goldfish. But yeah, that is it for this one. So I will hopefully see you guys for the next round at Imola, where we will hopefully have a little bit more good racing and a little fewer incidents, but we will see. See Roland Stricker's Lamborghini tucked right in behind the Mustang of... Who is that? Fuck, who is that?